All right, testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Let me know if you can hear me out there in
Yes, sir.
the world. All right.
All right, testing 1 2 3 1
All
2.
right, cool. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I couldn't hear anything or see anything.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, man.
All
Are
right.
we live?
Could you hear me? Yeah, we're live right now.
Awesome.
We are 100%, 200% live. So I think we're good. I think Sophia's here too. Do I need to add her? Oh, maybe that's why. Okay, I'm adding her to the stream. Hey, Sophia.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Pretty
Still,
fantastic.
oh,
Sun's
pretty
out.
fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, sun's out
Wow.
for once. We've had like 2.5 weeks or so of just nothing but rain. Happy there's some sun.
We just had some rain,
Hey, it was
but
fair
we were
trade.
happy to have it.
Well, it was a fair trade.
Yeah, we're in a drought right now, so rain was a blessing. So,
I'm trying to remember where we stopped last time. Trying to get the actual page. I think it was page 3, right? I may have to go back and look at where we
I
were.
think so.
And I think on YouTube, I think they can hear us right now.
Should be able to.
yeah, I actually had to turn it down so there wasn't an echo because I have it streaming right now.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Well, that
Yeah, me
explains
too.
the echo.
No, I think that was me. I was on and I was like, nothing's happening. I don't hear anything. But okay, yeah, now I hear something. So I don't know. I logged out, logged back in. That seemed to work. So what I'm gonna do here is try to go back and tell how organized I am today. So I'm gonna try to go back and see exactly where we ended last time. And
It was for me like page 2 or 3.
yeah, I think it was page 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to see where it ended exactly.
I'll start out. I might even include that one. Thank you, evergreen.
There you go.
Okay, so we went a little bit through the timeline.
Right, and you can't get better because
Okay, so we got to April 14th, 2014. Does that sound about right? The day one journal, because then the rest, like the last 20, 30 minutes is us chatting about the day one.
Absolutely.
Journal. Okay. All right, let me just make sure that's right. Let's see. We may have gotten past page 3. Wow. Okay. Let's see, down to page 3. Okay. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. Can you guys still hear me, even though I turned my camera off? I think that's what was happening last time. Somehow it was connected.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right, let's share this here.
I just want to say something real quick.
Sure.
The other group is definitely coming after TikTok now. I just had my the Danny August Mason person of interest video I posted, a little TikTok on there. That was hit for harassment and bullying, apparently. Even though I'm just stating the facts and going over everything we found in police reports.
Ah.
Oh no, not the facts.
Right? Yeah, we can't do that. No, I got it back under review, so hopefully it'll come back because I mean, yeah, the only thing I really do in there is I basically have a little meme in there saying stop lying, stop lying.
Hmm.
It's pretty ridiculous. Somebody was popping in, dropping comments that were just absolutely irrelevant. It was a nightmare yesterday, but blocked because now I'm just done. They're all getting blocked.
What's your TikTok? Strange Investigation?
Yeah, Strange Investigations.
Cool. So it looks like here.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I got a few more coming out here pretty soon, so they're gonna be pretty hilarious.
I just added one to TikTok. The other day I made like a 3-minute video.
Right.
And I just says, well, because I'm obviously gonna make a longer version, but I haven't added anything to TikTok for that long. So I kind of am working on this video about looking through the window, trying to get an account of everyone who looked through it and what they saw. So the police will be in the next one when they look through that window. Not many people look through the window. Not many police actually.
Mm-hmm. Right.
At least they don't document that they look through it. So
right, and I do actually have an official update. Yeah, that they kicked the violation. They said no, okay, yeah, he's not violating anything. Yeah, of course it does.
You beat the man, huh?
Well, yeah.
Fight the power.
Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Those guys they're nothing but just a bunch of clowns. So getting tired of it. As you always say, they need to be bringing something to go and actually prove that David is guilty, and they don't ever bring anything to prove David's guilty. And their big thing is, oh well, we don't have to prove it. It's a burden of proofs on you guys.
How is it on us?
Yeah, I was like, we've already proved he's innocent, like 100 times over.
Yeah, I don't know what country they're from, but here in the greatest country ever, the burden of proof is on the accuser. That has not changed as far as I know.
Well, that's gaslighting, actually, what they're doing.
Yep.
So,
what is gaslight? Can you explain that? I've heard that term several times. I
basically, when I can get the technical term, but when
I can look it up, I guess. But
when we are sitting here trying to help prove David innocent, and like Will said, they basically turn it around and say that we're the ones who are supposed to prove innocence.
Right.
Got it.
But the police have not proven actual guilt. The only reason why they're saying that he's guilty is because he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And they have nobody else. That's literally what it says in the paperwork, especially the letter from the city attorney. That's what it says. But it's a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser attempts to sow self-doubt and confusion in their victims' minds.
Absolutely.
So that would make us the victims.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
We're the ones being harassed, abused, whatever.
And
just for
wait till we get to ad hominem, because that's what they're doing too, and they are classic at that. Classic.
Oh yeah.
And what is that?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm not up on all
okay,
these
so
terms.
we make an argument about the DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn around and say, well, Greg lives in his mother's basement. There you go.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So it just lies.
They try to like a lot of the time they try to go and attack somebody's credibility. And I mean, granted,
Yeah.
credibility means something to this, but at the same time, it's like that's for like expert testimony, right? That's really where the credibility matters the most. I mean, granted, if somebody is like a known liar, obviously anything you take, that you can't really take everything they say at face value. You have to go and take it with like a whole thing of salt, because they lie a lot. But none of us are known liars. So when it comes down to it, it's like, well, you can take it at face value, but I would still recommend people go and do their own research. Just like I think all of us say that too. Don't just take us at face value. Do your research. We've shown you this is what we came up with. And, you guys can always research it.
In fact, in the last videos that Catherine and I have been doing in our series, we show the viewer exactly how to do this, where to get this information, and they can look it all up themselves and
Right.
they can come up with their own conclusions. We're just presenting what we have found.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We
And then
give
these.
the books, we give the resources, we walk you through how to do everything. So, I mean, anybody can turn around and invest the time to research it themselves if they wanted. But
Absolutely.
we're not
So you give
experts.
them so you give them all that, and then these haters come back and say that you're a Trump-loving communist, uh,
Which is
who
like
hates
like
this country or
double.
something.
Yeah, that's
Oh no,
yeah.
that I remind somebody of their sister-in-law and they believe that I'm a murderer.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, that the sister-in-law is a murderer, but I remind them of that. That's supposed to discredit me.
Gotcha.
Or because of my brother and what he's done in his past, that's supposed to discredit me. Or
Mm.
the fact that I'm not an expert, which is true. I'm not an expert, but I have invested countless hours
Right.
in certain topics and have,
Are they
been
saying that they are experts to call you to say you're not an expert? Are they trying to say that they are?
Well,
uh
I mean, technically speaking, you don't have to be an expert to go and call somebody out and be like, "You're not an expert."
Do
Technically
we
speaking,
just
you
want?
don't
I
have to.
mean, are we only listening to the expert? What is what qualifies you as an expert? And
Well, I
who?
mean, like,
How are they
right.
to say who's an expert and who's not an expert?
right, right, and that's where things get a little weird because that all comes. I mean, you'd have to go and like look at. I mean, a lot of this comes down to like what's it called, Operation Mockingbird. A lot of that comes down to that's where we start getting this lingo coming from, because what defines an expert? It used to be just somebody they've devoted plenty of time to it and they can prove these facts, right? So like it used to be it was the experts were the people that could prove it with data.
Mm.
They could prove it with statistics. But then all of a sudden now it's you have to have a college degree or you have to be, working in the field in this exact position if you're talking about that for countless years. It's just like, what? Why? So, it's,
You
I
have to
mean,
trust the science, trust
right,
their science, and
I mean,
right.
these are the
that's
same people who say that men can get pregnant. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, go pound sand.
right. Exactly.
Well, I do want to say hi to
But
Derek in our chat, to Seth in our chat. Thank you both for being here, and anyone else who is in our chat. And
hello.
Seth, yes, my TikTok is actually the Gray Stage. If you go to my YouTube channel, go to the About Me section, scroll down, and you can find pretty quickly pretty much the podcast, the website, Facebook, Rumble, Amazon, and then TikTok, which I'm still like not really. I still don't get it. I'm still not understanding TikTok here, but I'm looking at it, and it looks like one of them got marked for censorship or something. The gun part 1 of 3, but all the other ones are doing pretty good. I just posted that 3-minute video. It already has 418 views on it,
Hmm.
so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, there's a lot more people looking at David Crowley case too. I'm seeing more and more and more looking at this. People that
Mm.
are just like hard truthers
Oh, okay.
are now starting to look at it. I was shocked because that should have been something that a lot of truthers would be looking at, but not really.
No, it kind of flew under the radar, and I'm not exactly sure why in 2015 it wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of, but there were so many of these shills and so many of these fake people who were saying, no, 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 there's nothing here. It's just a shame. We don't want to talk about David because he killed himself, and that's going to make us all look bad. And I think a lot of
Right.
people bought that back in 2015, so they just didn't talk about it.
Well, keep in mind, a lot of those same people still think Sean Wright isn't suspicious at all. And, he's just nothing but suspicious.
MF and Sean Wright.
Don't be suspicious.
Well, I mean, you look on the timeline. I mean, just how it all works with Sean Wright and just how he fits into it. In the journals, and you see the lack of calls. It's really interesting. It's just like, well, are you really good friends though? I mean, are you really? I don't think so. Based on what David's saying in his journal, I don't think you were very well liked.
You gotta be careful. That might be cyberbullying.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they can go pound sand too.
Yep. Yep.
So it looks like there is a lot of stuff about the journal. Here's the one from
Mhm.
what is it, May? Let me see, where am I at here in mine? Where are we at? May 16th,
May 16th.
2014, day one journal entry, the bottom of page 3, if anyone has that 37-page awesome new timeline that William has been ferociously working on and
Well, I'm
adding
on a
and
little hiatus
updating.
from it right now, but
That's okay. I mean, there's really a lot here, and this is what's nice. This is what's good about having, everybody kind of. I'm sure we all have things that we don't agree on too, but I think the main thing with this timeline, this is something we all can really help contribute to
Mhm.
kind of add in different things, to add in more stuff. I know at some point I want to go back and add in some of the stuff from before this time, but I'm sure there's probably, because you have here so many things on the day one journal, like just if you look at May 10th, one day one journal entry, May 12th, two day one journal entries. Were there things that stuck out to you, or were you just trying to document how many entries David had on that day?
So it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I was documenting every single one of the journal entries, but if there was something key there I really felt was really, really interesting, then I would add it. I mean, I'm still finding things, like, you got May 14th. Don't forget the birthday salt. And it's Rania Rania. Other group has been complaining that I've been mispronouncing her name. Oh, whatever, tomato, but Rania. She's they're eating a yogurt. Like, I don't know, I can't read the last word right there. Just the way it is right now, but she's eating at some place kind of like a Menchie's, some kind of like a frozen yogurt place. But it says, don't forget the birthday salt on May 14th. So whose birthday is on May 14th? That's my question. But I mean, I wanted to document all the pieces that were really, really crucial to the case. For instance, relationships, things with Sean Wright and the other players from the Gray State Project. I wanted to document what he's saying, because they're saying they're all really, really good friends. And after reading the journal several times now, they were not friends. A lot of them, David was like, nah, not really interested in even a friendship with you guys. He's trying to push them on out. He didn't want Sean Wright coming over at his house all the time. He was tired of it. He was really tired of Joe Seaton. He doesn't like Joe, but
Joe's a pretty big character in this journal.
he
I
is.
think he's
He
a very
is.
vital character, and so is Sean. And they just both happen to be part of a hit piece. That tries to tell everybody David Crowley is guilty. A failed hit piece, I should really say.
Exactly.
I don't really know too many people who had an open mind going into it that really came out of it like, oh yeah, David's guilty. I think it's kind of one of those things with like Trump. Like if you hate Trump and you hear something bad, if you hate Biden, you hear something bad, it's just going to kind of further. You can just kind of use it, whether it's true or whether it's not. So the people that were looking for something for this wouldn't be fear porn, this would be propaganda porn, I guess, that
Right.
they were just looking for something to just kind of write David off because they couldn't find any factual data. So I think that happened, but I mean that can only happen for so long. I do hope some of those people at sometime in their life will come back and really realize that you guys were wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. We can all be wrong
Right.
at some point. But I mean, here we have what the facts say, and why would you not want to look at that in a case that's so serious? If you really want to prove David Crowley guilty, I mean, put some effort into it,
Right.
right?
Look at the same things and see, well, what exactly here proves him guilty? Not
Right.
a single thing in his journal proves him guilty. There's a few suspicious parts, sure, I'll give them that, but suspicious doesn't necessarily mean guilty. Suspicious just means, okay, well, okay, I have questions. What were you doing here? But I mean, he's passed on now, so I mean, there's no way we're going to be able to get those answers. But that also being said, you look at everything else in this journal and it's incriminating against these other guys. It shows, is like I said, we always have to go over the three things here: means, motive, and opportunity. This shows some motive behind some people, because we're seeing behind the scenes from David's point of view, he's trying to get rid of them out of the project. He does not want them a part of it. He even states on Facebook at one point, that he needs a trustworthy team. They're rebuilding from scratch, essentially. So that to me shows a lot of motive for these Gray State guys. Does it necessarily say they are suspects? No, it says they could be labeled as a person of interest, because anybody can label somebody a person of interest. It's to label them a suspect is where you can start getting hit with libel and all this. But so that's the big thing I wanted to go and note from the journal is relationships. Same thing with the phone records. How often are they talking? How often are they texting? Who are they talking to exactly? Does this line up with what we have in the police reports? And then we've all gone over that several times over. We know that Chris Peck didn't call the 19th. There was no text message. There was nothing. So there was no conversation there. Mason Hendricks, at one point on the timeline, from what I had gathered initially from the Dan Hennon timeline, I couldn't find anything about Mason Hendricks. Like that, the allegation of him calling, or like being the last person to talk to David. There's nothing from Mason Hendricks on that date. And so far, all I've found was Mason Hendricks was one text message. And it was like one of the very first ones that happened in 2014. But after that, I didn't see him after that. There was no more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying notating all these things, it starts piecing things together, and you get this puzzle starts to really, you get to really start seeing the picture. And we're only really missing a few pieces is really all it is now. But, because can we argue for sure? We know for a fact David was killed with a gunshot to the head. Well, could we say that it was possibly done after? I'm just trying to go and review any possibility when I say that. Do I believe he was shot in the head and that's probably how he was killed? Yes. But I would like to go and expand outward and see if there's any possibility that maybe there was multiple blunt force trauma. Let's take a look at all of it. Just label it out there and just see where it goes and see what we can find that actually adds up, and whatever sticks, great.
And this must have really stuck out to you here. So I want to go to this one and read that May 16th, 2014. Mm-hmm. What you write here in the timeline, day one journal entry: Joseph Seaton is mentioned in being in the area on this date. Los Angeles is in the card of all of us all. Now, so this is later on. This is after he comes back into David's life. Because I remember there's one post that David makes, and he's basically saying, "Hey, look who I happened to just bump into while I was jogging," and it was Joseph Seaton.
Right. So I'm trying to make sure I got that all pulled up right now and everything. Yeah, okay. Is in Yom.
May 16th.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. May 16th. I don't know where I got that from then. Did I post a picture? I don't think I did. So I'll have to go and I have to review that again. As I know, I was pulling things. They could have been from another date. Which, if I messed up, I messed up. I mean, I'm only human. But
no, you're right. Here it is. Here, on page 28 of the journal. Let me see if I could.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find the LA.
Yeah, LA. So it says Al was in town for her surprise birthday, missed her thing. Okay, and then it says down here, Joseph Seaton is in town. It's been fun connecting again this week. I met with
Danny here it is.
LA is in the cards of us all. So they're all Hollywood bound. They're all trying to make it. They got the same goal.
Yeah.
To Hollywood. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like David, and anyone who knows anything the least bit, or has family, has friends who work in that business, you have to live there at some point. Yep. You can do that. You can do it for a little while not living there, but you have to be in California. You have to be in that city somewhere around there in order,
Right.
you know, if you get that call, hey, yeah, we finally got something, we got these people, they want to hear this pitch. So I mean, at some point David has to move. They have
Right.
to make that trip. I don't know where Joseph Seaton is, where he is now. I know, you know, Danny August Mason there, I think he's in Texas.
Mhm.
So they're,
Austin.
yeah,
Yep.
so they're closer. They're a lot closer, you know. But I mean, from Minnesota, and you know, you can always fly out too. That I totally get that. And maybe David is like, he's not going to uproot his family and uproot everything, but that makes sense why Kamel was letting her license lapse, and why, you know, maybe they weren't planning on sending their daughter back to
Right.
school. I don't know. You know, I don't know any of that, but we definitely know that at some point, if David is planning for it for his future, you can see it right here. And this is May of 2014.
Hmm.
They're all talking about this. They are Hollywood bound. They are LA bound. That's where they got to be.
Well,
Um,
they've got that the confidence going, and the thing is with Joseph Seaton, if you listen to him in the Gray State
mhm.
mockumentary, he is very, 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 very much a salesman. That's the way I like to look at it. You can see he's just trying to interject himself into this group here. He is throwing all these ideas out. You can see that's what he's trying to do here. So with this whole newfound confidence of LA is in the cards of us all, that I think is he was probably really hyped up and pretty excited. But I think that's because he was sold something and didn't realize that it was just, you know, it wasn't in the card for all of them, or in the cards for all of them. It was really in the cards. David had the opportunity, not Danny August Mason, because isn't he in LA now? No. Is he some big movie star? No. How many things does he appear in? Not very many. See, so he's not Hollywood bound. Joseph Seaton, is he in Hollywood? Is he Hollywood bound? No. Mason Hendricks? No. I mean, he's had a little more opportunity since that movie, but you look at how many of them actually made it to Hollywood and actually started doing things. It was like one or two of them. So I think Adam Shambor is really the only one, and maybe possibly Chris Pack, but the rest of them, no. So,
Well, I want to say hi to Ellie, who
hello.
has joined us there too. Everyone, go check out Ellie78. She has an awesome channel. And Down the Rabbit Hole, Miss Lori. Very nice of you to join us. And if either of you want to jump in here, let me know, and I will. I can private message you the link, and you can always jump into this StreamYard here. We're just going through David Crowley's timeline very slowly. As you can see, we've made it to page, what, 3, 4, almost. We're almost on page 4. And this is our third
Slowly but
show.
surely.
So yeah, it's cool. You know, whatever. We're just working our way through this here because there is so much. There's so much
Mhm.
to really go through, and it's just so crazy how people can just write off this whole case and just it's done. That's it. You
Right.
know, it's over. You have here, and let me go back and share this tab. May 16th to 19th, 2014. The Crowley family leaves and arrives in Hewitt, Texas, roughly a 15.5-hour trip if driving nonstop. And with a child, that's not going to happen. That's
Right.
craziness.
Mhm.
In that black Toyota Corolla. This is important data here. What cars are they driving? What car, you know, because the cars is going to be a big thing that comes up here as
Right.
we go on. But so that is a big point. Um, yeah, I like that. I'm glad that you put that in there. These are some people may, you know, these are small things, maybe not the most relevant things, but to me they are. This all is painting a picture here. It's painting a big picture with a broad stroke. So
Well, the
um,
other thing to note from that
yeah.
too is, I mean, on the one I've got right now, so those that are watching on my stream, you'll see it on my screen here, but I have it highlighted. And the reason being is because anything I've got highlighted in the timeline at this point,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to go and find proof. Not proof that is, I'm not saying it didn't happen, as we know it happened, but I'm trying to go and find proof of, is there anything more we can really throw to go and show that yes, they were in fact driving. But I'm trying to narrow down the time frame. How long did this trip actually take?
Right.
And all this, and we know that we got a day one journal from the 6th or on the 16th and one on the 19th. So it's fair to assume that he was probably left like midday or so on May 16th, and then by May 19th or 18th they made it there. But we don't have the exact time frame of how long did it actually take them.
I see, because he's talking about today I'm getting ready for our big trip. But after writing, so he's still writing. He's still. Oh, I should probably share this. Yeah. So he says here, this is still on the 16th, I believe. Today I'm getting ready for our big trip, but after writing, did you know yesterday I started compiling old notes and began mind maps for 8 new films. Wow, more planning for the future right there.
Right.
I mean, eight new films, and then a couple months later, oh yeah, he just decided to off himself. I mean,
and of course, this is where we get that whole, well, he says killer, so therefore he's killer. No, just to go and label that for that anybody else who wants to try and say that shows that he's the killer. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
Killer is like saying cool, and that's like a Midwest term, I'm guessing,
right?
right?
I mean,
that was killer. Well, you're still Midwest to me, so Midwest bound. Don't worry.
Midwest, possibly.
It's all.
It could be East Coast bound. If I have my way.
I could be Canada bound here in a while. I don't know what the basements are like over in Canada, but I'm pretty sure they got some nice luxury.
Your mom's coming too.
Basements. She has to come. How am I going to afford all this? But here he says after killer, which kind of means cool. It's slang for cool, which cool is slang for awesome, and so on and so forth. He says, I got to pick one and begin research and passionate development. So you can say, he's not living and dying with Gray State with this project. He is, right. I believe he's using this to get his foot into that door.
Well, and I can actually tell you which one he chose too. That was it was his Hera project.
Can you explain a little bit about the Hera? Because I've got some questions recently about that.
Hera it appears to be somewhat kind of a Greek myth type of story, because you look at how it's written and how things are described and all this. It looks, at least that's where it got inspiration. We don't really know a whole lot about it though, but we do know that it was up on, like, he had notes on it and it was up on his little board on his wall in the office. That myth thing that was his alleged suicide note, that
right,
that was what he was writing that story in, which means my guess is that the story was deleted. Probably wasn't a whole lot there. It probably looked like gibberish to whoever was looking at it. And in all honesty, I mean, if somebody was looking at, like, my script notes, they'd be like, what the hell is this? Well, yeah, that's my script notes. I think that's what probably this myth was, that document. Because why else would you name it myth and say, yeah, I'm sorry and I've loved you all, or whatever he said? That doesn't make any sense. This was definitely, that's where this kind of gets in connection with that. Is we this Hera project, this is what that is. 8 new films. He talks about other film projects he wants to do, but Hera is the one that we see around the house. And we also see Gray State. So those are the 2 projects he's working on. The other ones are just like brainstorms, essentially.
Okay. I gotcha. So then like you put here on Monday, May 19th, 2014 at 12:11 a.m. So they arrive pretty late. So yeah, I mean, who knows when they may have started driving on the 17th, on the 8th. They may have started driving on the 17th or the 18th. We really don't know. So very, very cool. Who knows? But this is them when they arrive here in Texas.
Well, also one thing to note on here too is, for those that are curious about David and the Crowley's relationship with the alums, is you can see right here, made the trip to Texas today. It's good to see Kay's family again. Just by stating that right there, it's good to see Kay's family again. That they're in a good place with them still.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
And that really doesn't end. There's been some questions about that, but Kamel's dad and David were very close, from what I was told by the family members. They were close.
Right.
Kamel's dad is the one that bought David his car. Remember, he was paying for their phone bills up until October. I don't think things got that bad in October where where all of a sudden he's going to kill everybody. And if it did, there would be proof of it. So this is
Right.
why, people say we don't want to be accusing people, which I get, because we don't want to do what they're doing to David.
Right.
So it's like, well, if they're accusing me of certain things, why wouldn't they accuse David of all of these different things? These are horrible crimes to accuse somebody of.
Right.
I think the police and their documents are very, very cautious about what they say, about doing their best not to slander David, while at the same time claiming that he is the one who committed this crime here.
Right.
So they're very, very cautious, and their quotes are very minimal. As you can see, they spoke with Tom Lydon. I don't know why they chose
Yeah.
to speak with him, first of all, but
Catboy.
I've looked at some Tom Lydon's other videos where he's confronted cops and confronted people. So for them to speak to him, I thought that's pretty interesting, to go that far. But I don't know. Who knows what they were being told about people like us, and I include all of you in this, even if you're just learning about this case. He was talking about all of us. They were bashing all of us, maybe even before many of you were even in this group,
Right.
because it was all people who thought David didn't do this, and that the government killed him, and that was it. Those were really the only two choices we were given. Either David did this or the government did. Well, the government didn't do it, so I guess David did. It's really, really stupid. It really, and it's frustrating. And these police know better. I believe that's why a lot of them were so quiet. Even the ones that spoke with us were not very gung ho about this. You can go back and listen to Catherine's video, where she talked with Gummert, and you can hear it. When I
Right.
talked with Gummert, which I found a very, very nice guy, a very chill guy and everything, but you could see they were not really trying to press this like, yeah, this is it. David did it. Case closed. It was like,
Well, they
look,
couldn't say they just still can't say that he did it for sure. All they
Right.
can say is, well, we don't have enough proof to prove anybody else. Is really what it comes down to. We
That's
don't have anybody we can label fully as a suspect at this time, which I call BS. There's a few that I would think should be labeled that way, but I'm not going to say names because I'm not going to slander or any of that. But there are people of interest, and I've been pointing those out for some time. I think we all have been pointing out, well, this is a little odd here. Why, we're seeing lies in police reports. We're seeing they're going along with the narrative. Yet anybody that's going to be, that has been through that similar situation where their friend, allegedly commit suicide, they want the facts. They don't want to just go along with the narrative. They're like, look, we just want the truth. What exactly happened? So,
Yep. No, that's right. And you can even see what they do on this day. What David writes here. Made the trip to Texas, like you said, went to Crickets, Brazos, downtown area, all of our old hotspots, not just, there's a history. They have a history. This is where they met. David spent a lot of time with Kamel's family for years, since 2009, maybe 2008. And now we're at 2014. So there's a long history there between David and Kamel's family, and in this area and all that. I mean, look what they were doing, playing foosball and pool,
right.
driving past Baylor, go to the Crickets. All I could do was just watch Kamel in her place, not mine, and finding SUV interest and passion and affection there. Then we come back and it's just Randy's demands and needs. Not her fault. But holy Christ, I can see without obstruction the life we would have together if it were just me and my love, Kamel. So these are some of the things that I believe people, they use this stuff to take out of context to try to make David seem like David hated his daughter.
Right.
And it's just not the feeling that I get. I mean, they're entitled. You're entitled to think that. Has nothing to do with proving whether David did anything, but you can see he's not blaming her, but he is thinking about what would it be like, if it was just him and Kamel. And remember, the guy is 28. So still a very, very young parent here too. But he's also saying, and this is where the honesty for me kicks in. Evil thoughts, maybe, but being dishonest to myself about the sinking sadness I get knowing I'm living in a prison won't do anybody any good either. That's right. When you have a problem, the first thing you do is you admit that you have a problem.
Right.
You can never get past that, and maybe some parents never do, but you'll never get past that. And also look at David's childhood. Look at David's family. Look at how distant they kind of are too.
Kind of are. They totally are.
In some ways, maybe. Go ahead. So let's see. I don't know if there's anything else about the 19th. But he's basically just praising Kamel and, making sure that, like a parent should do, is focus on their child, whether you like it or not. That's what
Which
you
is
do.
all he's saying.
If you want to be a good parent, you have to do that. And there are sacrifices involved in that.
Well, that's what he's talking about here. He's not saying, he wishes life was different. Not really. He's saying, yeah, I had to make all these sacrifices here. I really wanted to have more time with Kamel and just the two of them, but it's not. That wasn't in the dice. That was, they had a kid and they've got to make sacrifices and they got to go and worry about her needs and what she wants.
And remember, according to Kamel, Rania was autistic, had some type of autism or some type of autism issues. There was some of that there that never gets talked about.
Right.
Rania was not just this perfect kid. She was a regular kid, yes, but from what Kamel is saying, she had autism. And any parent who has dealt with that stuff knows how difficult that can be. Especially if you don't really know if it really is. Kamel said that she cured her daughter of it. I mean, so she's kind of working through some of that stuff, which I think is better than putting your kids on medication. I don't know if Rania was or not. It doesn't sound like she was, but
all I got to say is Dr. Sebi. Follow what Dr. Sebi had to say. Everything is fixable through diet, through exercise, through maintaining your health.
Right.
You look at what happened. Look at all the different health conditions that occurred after the Rockefellers took over the medical industry and the big pharma. This is, we're seeing all these things. They just ramped up. And we're seeing a family that's affected by this. So the thing is, for us to go and say anything about Rania and possibility of autism, we'd have to honestly look through the journal entries. We'd have to go and get testimony from other statements from family and friends of, how was she? Like, what was she like? What kind of activities did she partake in? Was she, how quickly did her mood change? Did she distance herself from people? And there's all sorts of different things you can come at. Look at the autistic spectrum. I mean, I'm by no means, I'm not an expert on that, but I know quite a few people that are.
It. No, you can't talk
about it. Based on another group.
Can I say something in regards to that? Because, like Will said, you could change your health by what you eat. Unfortunately, autistic children are so picky.
Right.
It's like Carter eats maybe 5 things. And if you try to give him a substitution, he smells it, he feels it, he examines everything. And if it's not the way that he is used to, he won't touch it. Mm-hmm. And so it's like trying to get him to eat anything else. Oh my gosh, it's a nightmare.
Well, and little kids in general are very similar to that anyways. Like my kids, my son very, very much won't eat really anything but chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. That's really all he eats. We've gotten him to eat other things. So, but he's got to be in that mood. So you've got that dealing with, then you've also got, autism, kids are picky as hell anyways. So
that's true.
It just gets worse when it's, I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody with like autism or any other kind of mental health diagnoses, but just kids in general, and then you add something else on top of that, it becomes that much more difficult. So
it does actually, and then especially certain times of the day when unfortunately he is on medication, and when that meds wears off, it's game over. I mean, it we're just it's a struggle. Like
Yep.
first thing in the morning, it's a struggle. We can't do anything first thing in the morning until those meds kick in. He can't get dressed. He can't do anything. He can't focus. But it's ADHD also.
Right.
So it's not only autism, it's that. And then in the afternoon, it wears off, and so then we have to work on the second dose. And oh my gosh, it's crazy. And you can't hear yourself think because he's so loud. But
Right.
this is who he is. And if Ronnie was going through autism, I can see where some of these journal entries were extremely spot on because it's frustrating and you have to vent. And the safe place to do it is the journal where you don't expect the world to be reading.
Right. Well, on top of that too, I mean, like look at he was also he had a lot of stressors in his life. David did. If you think about it, he's got the Gray State project he's working on, and then having to do that with a child. I mean, I'm struggling, and I'm just writing from things all I have to do is just basically plug in a little bit of data and then just write about it. And I'm struggling. He's doing something from a creative standpoint where it's not just, oh, here's facts. No, he's done his research, but he's just trying to go and plug in the story, make sure everything works. And you can probably see, especially because he's by himself doing this, he doesn't have Danny August Mason all the time helping him. He doesn't have, he's got Kamel, but Kamel, she's, when he's writing, she's probably taking care of Ronnie. It's probably how that's all been working out. Maybe they're taking turns during that. I know that's how it works with me and my wife. When it comes down to it, we take turns on who's gonna, whether it be for discipline, whether it be for whatever else, getting a meal ready, getting them down for nap, whatever. We take turns. We just bounce back and forth a lot of the time. Like for instance, like right now, anything she's gonna have to do, I'll have to go and basically catch up with that. So all these extra things I'm gonna have to do after this. So I'm sure they probably had some dynamic like that. And especially as me personally, I felt like the personality, the Myers-Briggs test I did on their behalf, it's not going to be 100%, but I think it was pretty spot on with how they operated. They were a really good team. You look at every single thing about those personality tests, I would say it's pretty spot on. And especially as you can see a lot of it come through the journal as well. I'm bringing it up right now for people to see, so hopefully it loads. Hopefully. Where'd I have that completely?
And then people were talking about how they struggled with their marriage. I'm not exactly sure when this actually happened, if it was 2012, 2011. But wasn't that when David was on the road a lot recording and taking photos and stuff?
That's, for everything I've seen about their relationship being kind of rocky, they were working on things. That's what Kamel had sent in an email to, or rather an email from Kamel had gone to Allison about that. But we don't know how far back that really goes necessarily.
Yeah, because if that was during the time when he was traveling and doing all the filming and recording for the trailers, yeah, I could see how their marriage would have gotten rocky if she was alone with Rainey and raising her by herself, plus working, and she was also getting her master's degree.
Right.
That's got to be stressful on Kamel, doing all that on her own.
100%.
So I would be a little spiteful towards my spouse too if that happened.
Absolutely.
Well, as we here's the reason why stuff in the journal really has to be put into proper context. So this is why everyone having access to the journal for me is so important. Not just little clips, not just parts of it, but the whole thing here, because we're still on the 19th, and he's talking, he's venting, right? I think Derek said that. Someone in the chat room said he's basically venting here,
Yes.
and he's like, right back to being a supportive mom, knowing that every time we try to find a moment to ourselves, we'll get pulled back into this child's dark reality. It's hard to grow up and lay down your life for a child when all you wanted was some time to be alive with your wife. But he's saying this is what he's doing. He's laying his life down for his child. The army took a year, and then right into the abyss with the child. Time to die. Here's the most important thing for me. Time to die and realize I will only have that time when we are old and tired, as she has her way with us for 20 years. So,
Right.
this is more planning for the future. This is more of him saying, yes, we're going through this, and we're not really going to have time to ourselves until she's grown up, until Rania is gone. This is what I would want to hear from my parents. This is what I would want to hear from any decent parent. Why would you not lay your life down for your child? What type of a parent wouldn't do that?
Right.
Of course, you will only have time. The time it should be. Unfortunately, I think there are a lot of parents out there. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot of parents because I don't know. I really don't know. But I have seen some cases of parents, where they still put themselves first,
Mm-hmm.
and they still make sure the child is kind of there and just kind of with them, but they're not putting the child first in their life. Which I think every parent should do or try their best to,
Right.
within reason here. But he's saying 20 years, they're usually gone when they're 18. I know some parents, they kick you out when you're 18. I've been kicked out of my house way before I was even 18. Before I found my way back into my mom's basement, I was being kicked out of my house. And he writes, but God damn it, it effing hurts. And I think my biggest thing in this as a Christian, some of the using the Lord's name in vain was like that really bothered me. It's not relevant to anything he's saying here, not relevant to the story that he's telling here. It just I don't even think he really understands what he's doing here. It's not that big of a deal, but just for me, that it kind of
He's just showing he's
stepped out.
frustrated.
He's frustrated. Yeah, he's
very, very
really
frustrated.
with it. This other thing, when people read the journal, it's kind of a side note here. When you read this journal, pay attention to to these pings, right? To where it's being pinged from here.
Mm-hmm.
Because this could be outside of somebody's house, right? If he's just typing somewhere, if he's at a pub or at a bar or something like that. But some of the pings, especially once he gets back home, are very interesting and very curious because he's not writing this from his house like you would always think. He's
Right.
writing it maybe as he's jogging and just wants to take down some notes or at a nearby park or something like that. But that was one of the other things that stuck out to me. This is a lot easier to follow than the phone records, but the phone records are the real thing. Where the phones are pinging like that, if you really want to get
Right.
down to it, and that's way above my head, but that is,
I
a
got you, man.
big deal. Good. Good. So that is the 19th there. So then you have, journal entry on the 19th, on the May 21st, 2021. David posted on Facebook he would be meeting, quote, some extremely important people in LA that week. I've always wondered if he was meeting more than one company. I kind of thought, and I know the Michael Entertainment Group also thought that David was just meeting with them, but he may have been meeting with other people too. And obviously, he's not going to tell them that he's meeting with other people. But
Right.
I don't know if we've ever found any evidence that he was actually meeting with anyone else but the Michael Entertainment Group. And remember, David is not being secretive about this. So, regarding Sean Wright and regarding Danny August Mason, all these people who have been working with him, Joseph Seaton, he's not keeping it secret from them. So it seems like to me at this point, he's not really distancing
trying to kick them
himself.
out.
He's
Yeah,
not
he's
trying
not
to
trying to
kick them
kick them
out.
out
He's
yet.
being very, very honest. As you can see, as it goes on, he's talking less and less about this whole LA experience. It really, to me, it kind of ends in September, and it's like, well, he doesn't talk much about it after that, and that's because the whole deal failed. But it could just be he's not talking publicly about it because he's trying to keep it very low profile.
Right.
And maybe from even some of the people that had helped David get this pitch, get this deal. I don't know.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, I want to say hi to anyone that I did miss in the chat. I know Jerome has joined us, and I think I said hi to everybody else, but I know there's some other people here too. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who is watching this, who is listening to this, and who is really,
Absolutely.
really focused on this journal. And this has been a very as we get in here, the day one journal, I think, changes the whole timeline.
It
It,
does.
it definitely adds a lot to it, but there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of the naysaying, a lot of the doubts, a lot of the things. Well, we don't know this. Like, it's all here. This is David's journal, and I do believe this is really David's journal. It's not a fabricated thing or
Oh
anything
no, this is
like
definitely
that.
David's.
Why we didn't get it, why all of a sudden it came out. I know there are other people who have been putting in the data requests, and maybe it just got finally put in the right way. I'm not really sure. Some of the timing on some of the data requests are kind of interesting too, but whatever it is, the main thing is to get the data and share it with everybody.
Right. We just want the truth. So, I mean, why not just, have a big coming together? Everybody just pool the information they've got, get it together, and we can go and piece this story together and finally complete the mystery and solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Get that off to the police, and hopefully they will do something with it. If not, then we take it higher up.
That's right.
So, but I mean, there's a lot here though, because I mean, there's a lot of changes that this journal brings, because you get to see kind of behind the scenes. You see behind the curtain of what these guys are saying and what David actually viewed. So this is, in a way, this is him having that, like showing the rest of us, showing the world. I mean, it was supposed to be private, obviously, but now he's showing the world, no, these guys weren't really all these great of friends.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are saying all these things, but let me show you what they're doing, from my point of view. But the thing is, as you go down through this, you'll see that it's somewhere around, it's after he has a meeting with the Mikes the first time, which is before, I mean, it's in May, but it's before June is when we start to see things ramp up to the point where he's starting to recognize, okay, I don't need certain people in this project, and potentially even in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Seaton is definitely one of them. So,
yeah, and Derek asked, has anyone asked Judy if this is the journal she was talking about? And I'm not sure. I forget if she was talking about a written journal. I think she was more talking about a written journal that the police missed. I could be wrong on that.
yeah,
Some people may not know exactly what we're talking about here,
but that's somebody I definitely take with the whole barrel of salt. So,
well, I had asked the cops, hey, somebody had mentioned that there was a written journal that you guys missed, and he wrote it off. He's like, no, he's like, and I told him who it was, and he's like, okay, well,
that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, that made a whole lot of sense, and he kind of changed and made a little joke and everything, but basically it was saying, no, we didn't miss any journal. We didn't miss anything that was relevant, et cetera, et cetera. And he kind of made it seem like, if something was out there like that would help them solve the case, that should have been brought to their attention. It should not have been hidden from them. I mean, that would help their case. They're looking for that stuff, obviously, for what, 7 months, 8 months or something. They're looking for anything like that. So if anybody had any data that would show that,
ironically, they had enough there to already show that he wasn't guilty, but
right.
Bunch of jokers.
So let's see. Anything else about May 21st? No, May 22nd. Resting a little before the big meeting tonight. So May 21st, May 22nd. These are all very important dates here. And so, going back to May 20th, I guess, 2014, he is leaving Texas here. So he and Kamel, at this point, right, they're leaving Texas and they're going to go have these meetings. So he says, I've just been planning our LA trip. We are leaving tonight for 4 days in Candyland, meeting a bunch of people. Zach Carter set up all these meetings I get to go to. So maybe there were more meetings. Because I know we know Zach Carter is the one who helped David get this pitch with the Michael Entertainment Group. Maybe there's other meetings that he helped them get to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to think positive, going to use some of my new tricks and forge a new life. Oh, more planning for the future. How
Right.
many times in this journal are we going to see David planning for the future,
Pretty much the
not
entire journal.
planning to end his life and end the life of those that he loves so dearly, especially after all of this positive things? This is the big thing. This is why when Jordan Page mentioned David's Hollywood deal, he became, whether he knows it or not, he became a big target, because he was the first person that I know to publicly talk about any type of deal that David had, where we had thought that the deal, if he had anything going on, that it was dead.
Right.
And so, I mean, then it was just like, okay, well, Jordan Page is saying this, and you can just kind of look, you just add all of these things up, and you can clearly see. And then once Dan Hennon actually spoke with Michael Boggio, to me, that was it. It was like, okay, Michael Boggio is basically saying, Michael Boggio is the president of Michael Entertainment Group, and he is clearly saying the deal is not dead. The deal was in the works. The only reason why everything stopped is because David died.
Right.
And for the police
even
not
then,
to be looking at any type of motive related to that is very odd. Did the police ever speak with them, with the Michael Entertainment
I don't
Group?
think they did. Well, they might actually. I take that back. I think they might have.
They
I
should
think
have.
I think there was one police report where he might have talked, or I'm not sure if it was Booth or Bone. Maybe one of them, I think, talked to one of the mics,
Yeah,
if
they
not
should
both.
have.
I'll have to double check again. I mean, that's what I'm working on anyways right now is police reports, statements, and things like this. So yeah, I'll definitely have an update on that soon then.
So yeah, so then they're going there for 4 days. So that's 4 days of David Kamel, taking this trip into what he calls Candyland, which is an interesting phrase too. This is David's sense of humor. It's got a pretty interesting sense of humor that maybe it's a little bit hard to grasp at some point. For me it was, but the more that I read this, the more you kind of can really get into what he's thinking here. And on May 1st, I'm sorry, on May 21st, 2014, they're in a hotel. So he takes a picture of his his sleeping wife in a hotel, resting a little bit before the big meeting tonight. Zach got a couple MGM people locked down to talk Gray State. So Michael Entertainment Group, obviously, is kind of a startup group, right? They're both of the two Mikes, Michael Boggio and Michael. I always forget the other Mike's last name, the older Mike, but
Right.
they've both been in the business for a long time. This is just their kind of startup business, so it's pretty interesting. And I don't know if he really talks about how these meetings with MGM, a couple MGM people go. I'm sure these are just very chill talks, sitting at a bar, sitting at a pub or something, talking about Gray State. These don't seem like very formal talks or anything like that either. So that's just my guess on reading some of this journal. But I mean, this is it, and we know how all of this ends. He leaves. By the time that he leaves, it's a very positive note. He leaves with
Right.
a green light. So maybe he was talking to other people here.
Well, the thing is, if you look at like some of these contracts and things like this, right after David gets back,
Mm-hmm.
he's already in talks with Adam Gleason to go in, from Loman and Abdo to go and,
Right.
start the exiting procedures of people that are really not going to be, well, especially the ones that are right there connected to it.
Right, because
Danny August Mason.
those are dated August 1st, right? So it's a predated contract, so it's kind of like he's giving them until August 1st to sign this stuff, right? Is that the
Right.
feeling you got?
Well, exactly, because you see that he's in talks right after he gets back
Mm-hmm.
From this trip. He's already talking to Adam Gleason. It's like literally, I believe it's like right after he gets back to Minnesota, within like a day or two, I believe. I'd have to go back over that, but that's the part I found very interesting. Is he's so quick to go ahead and all right, let's go and get this going. And, and then he talks shortly after he gets back too about, well, this isn't going to go well with Danny August Mason, but hopefully he's going to understand essentially. But this is coming from somebody. If you go over the police reports, this is where it directly connects. He said, he was nothing but like an actor. He didn't. It's all he did. That's his only part in this entire project. But really, he was helping write, which we all know that was kicked out with the later script. But with his original script, you can see there's definitely a few different people's writing types or writing styles in this script. And that's the part we really need to look at. This is a guy that was claiming he wasn't part of this in any other sense of the word. He was just an actor for this, but really we know that he was devoting money and all this. And he even contradicts himself in his police report too. Mm-hmm. He contradicts himself. Well, there was a lot of time and effort I had to put into this type of thing, money and all this. I was never really fully paid back on all it. But if you were just an actor, what are you really doing then by claiming all this?
Right.
So, that's the part we want to go and pay attention to, because this is a big, this gives up a lot of motive. Who does this hurt the most?
Was that part of your TikTok video that got you banned?
Kind of. Except it's already back. Because they couldn't, they're like, wait, not cyberbullying, not harassment. Yeah, it's called proof. Look at that.
Is that the first, because you made a few TikTok videos about the case, right? Or
yeah. So. I've got, I think like 9 or 10 videos up on it.
Have you ever had any other incidents like this before?
Well, about this case, no.
About other cases, though?
Well, like for instance, I did a Mr. Cruel video. And if you guys aren't familiar with Mr. Cruel, it's still an unsolved case over in Australia. So I'm hoping, Jamie, if you're listening, let's talk. But no, this occurred a while ago, but I was posting facts about the victims. Well, the victims were mostly children, young girls, and all this. And so that my initial video got dropped when it hit about, I think it was about 500 or 600 views. So it said it was violating community guidelines. And there was something wrong with it. I didn't show any of the bodies. I didn't show anything like that. I just put in the data and I had a photo of them. And the one victim that was killed, I like to go and dramatize things and give it a little bit of an entertainment value, as we all know. And I put it looked like blood splatter across this one victim's page that I put a little infographic I put together because she was the only one that was killed. And so that got flagged and taken down. So I had to go and re-upload, and I just kept some of that information out. Do I still have it? Absolutely. But now that's up to like 1,300 views. It's my big video. So, but no, as for the David Crowley case, I've got a little intro video kind of just showing the family. I've got one talking about where's all the blood. I've got one talking about mold. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 person of interest videos. Danny August Mason, Chris Hendricks, Chris Peck, and Dan Jr. I've got bullet trajectories, and I've got one on Sean Wright coming out soon, one on Joseph Seaton coming out soon, and I'm going to be going over dog feces soon, which I am still shocked that nobody's really looking too heavily at the dog feces and what that all means really for this case, especially when it comes to mold. Just saying. Plus on top of that lack of blood, I mean, we got to look at paleo on this. Did he really lick up all the blood? How did he get to the hands that were underneath Kamel's body that, they're all gone? Did he really? I mean, my wife was even questioning it. She was just sitting there like, I just don't understand. I'm like, I know, right? So, but yeah, it's, I'm going to try and get her on one of these days, especially as she does work in the mental health field. So I'm going to see if I can get her to come on and talk about what she knows about autism and all this. And we'll see if that actually does end up happening. She's kind of reluctant, which I get. I totally get. But it's one of those things I think it's crucial. So maybe I'll be able to get a TikTok out on that soon. So, but yeah, there's a lot to this case that people are just overlooking. And this is the big part in the timeline that we really need to be focusing in on pretty hard, because this gives us clear motive. Because when it comes to the government hit thing, I mean, like, there's been other people that have talked about this stuff. Why, but why didn't they die? Why isn't Alex Jones dead? That's all I got to say about that. Unless he's tied to the government. But end of the day, we have to be looking at these things. Who else has spoke about this? Who else has spoke about this topic here? And especially if you go over, there was an interview that We Are Change had. It was a Sean Wright's little show or whatever, his little Mom's Basement show or whatever the hell it was called, where he spoke to Danny August Mason and David. David controlled that whole interview. Danny August Mason was like, he had to be given like the go ahead to go and talk. I mean, you could see it. It was like David's like, nah, you're not going to say a word here. But you look at that, what was being spoke about and all this. I mean, it was a good little interview, but you got to see a whole lot going on. There was just so much to unpack from that video. And all these other interviews. He went to the Ron Paul Fest. I mean, he did all these other things. He's promoting this movie in a really, really powerful way. But end of the day, he explains this is art first. It's a story. And then when you get The Rise comes out, he says, this is a warning. This is happening. And so this is the part I think we need to go on for just this part of it, that we really need to lock down. When were those interviews taken?
Right.
When were they actually done? Because if all that was put together at the same time as he's doing Gray State, the 2013 script, is everything David's saying and all these other guys saying about the 2013 script, or is it the 2014 script?
I think you're right. I think it's closer. Just a guess. I obviously don't know, but I think it's more related to the 2013 script. We don't know how many people really knew about that 2014 script, but I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess.
Well, this is what comes to that note that it was also in the office. Open The Rise. Why was everything so pushy towards opening The Rise then, if it's about the 2013 script? See what I'm saying? So I think The Rise, he took some information, some of this from the 2013 script, but these guys didn't know that he actually was working on a 2014 script, which we know they didn't know about.
I think that they did know. I'm going to take that back. I think thinking about my conversations with Hendrix, but again, he may have gotten the 2014 script later on, and these guys are friends with Zach Carter too. I don't think Zach Carter. I think they all kind of run in the same circle. No, I'm not. No, that's what I think. So okay. I think they knew more about the 2014 script. I'm not exactly sure when. I don't think that they liked it. At some point, they had to have realized that the story, and they've said that, many people have said that the story had completely changed. David even writes that on Facebook in September of 2014. So I believe in September 2014.
And that's where I think the clues are at too, is in the script, because you got that. I mean, there's so many clues that go with the script and how they connect to the crime scene. That's the part that I find very, very peculiar. There's so many things. It looks too staged for that, because of that. Like I said, where's the blood? There would be blood there. Gunshot wound. Where's the high velocity blood spatter? I know that somebody had posted about gunshot residue. That goes away pretty quick. So for those that are wondering, you shoot yourself, all that backfire with the gunpowder, that dissipates rather quick.
Like how long? Days? Weeks?
Like, off the top of my head, I think it's within 48 hours or something like this.
No, I think it's gone. It's got to be longer than that.
I'm pretty sure it's something like that. But but either way, end of the day, we got to be looking for things like, well, if he just pointed to the bottom of his chin and just shot up, or however he shot, there should be some burn marks, but there's none. From what they've gathered and what they've said, there's nothing there.
It's not mentioned or anything.
Well, and you look at Rania. I mean, or Rania. That should have been something that was mentioned, because she has her head intact still. But there's none, which means it had to have been done at a distance.
Right. When they say that there's no suit, I think, and no suit or stippling or something like that.
Yeah, there's no stipling.
Yeah, and that
And
that
there's none of
stuck out
that.
to that stuck out to a lot of people. I remember that, and they'd bring that up, and I'm like, what are they talking about?
So if there's no
And
stifling, then that means this is done at a distance. It's got to be at a pretty decent distance, because that can, I mean, it can go, I think it's, I don't remember what the exact number was. So I'm not going to go and try and even guess, but it's a pretty good distance. And so and even then, every gun is a little different. So how it fires, sometimes it goes a little farther, sometimes a little shorter. But overall, it's kind of within this short little range.
yeah,
But still, they were at a range. And then the other thing I would also bring up is the fact that, well, how couldn't anybody hear that? And then Mason Hendricks, of course, I brought that up in my TikTok video about, well, he's talking about decibels here, and how the house would have just muffled it. And then he talks, I believe he talked about the basement too, and all this is like, these are very, very peculiar things. And the one thing I'm still looking at, and I don't know if anybody's looked at this yet, is the basement shot. Is that possible that could have been, the shot could have came from the basement and gone up into the attic? I'm still trying to go and line it up to see if it could be possible. Because if that's true, then did somebody just shoot, from the basement and get up into there? I don't think that's it. I don't think that's the case, but it's something I'm exploring at the moment. I don't think anybody's looked at that yet. But there's all sorts of different questions we can have. But end of the day, first thing we got to find in here is who has motive. That's the big thing we do need to find. Who has the most motive? Who has the most to gain from David's death? Who has the most to lose from what David's contract was going to do? And we know the one person who got a contract that was basically saying, yeah, you're done, was Danny August Mason. Everybody else is just kind of like there, but they didn't have any part other than helping out every now and then, So who's losing out on this? So this is where I say that this makes Danny August Mason, he makes him a pretty big person of interest. Just right here, this meeting here that occurs, and then you see how it escalates from there. And David's already like, nah, we got to get rid of him. Either he's going to work with me, he's going to be a part of this. I'm willing to give you this little bit here, but we know the new script, which is what they were going to probably roll with, at least something along those lines, that wasn't having John Waynick in there. So if John Waynick's not in there, then is there any need for Danny August Mason? See, that's my point. I keep coming back to that. He was killing the character off. That character he's not even in there.
He's not in there. You're right. He's not in there. It kind of seems like the character got molded into
the main character molded
to the
into
main
David.
character. Right. David.
It's David. Yeah. I mean, if you look to the description of Daniel in that, I think it's Daniel Walker in the second script.
Daniel Walker.
He is, I mean, if you listen to every little detail, it's David. And the relation, that woman that he's, the scientist lady, I mean, you could argue that's like Kamel, but at the same time, you can also get this, it's like a healthcare CEO or this hospital CEO. I don't remember her name, but that's also, you could also see that could be Kamel as well. As there's like aspects, and it's almost like he molded both characters out of Kamel. One that's a little more gentle and all this, and one that's a lot more, that molds into this badass. Well, what happened with Kamel? She learned how to shoot. She was going, she was going with David go shoot. I mean, she got involved with that. So I think there's something there. Now, like I said, I think the scripts show more than a lot of people are even believing they are. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you look at the cast of characters. Who could they? I mean, everybody's going to draw inspiration when they're building a script and all this of characters. A lot of movies, a lot of screenwriters do this. They will find somebody either they know or they can relate to or something they've seen before. They'll go and draw inspiration from something. They don't generally just come up with a character, create it completely on their own. No, they'll take a totem, if you will. Same thing of comic book writers, any kind of writer. It's an effective way to go mold a character. Is then essentially you can cast a character pretty quickly. This is like you could have a character that looks and acts just like Sylvester Stallone, but they, but at the same time, like personality wise, how they speak and all this, they could be an Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Bruce Willis type of thing, So then it's like, well, who do they cast? And they can kind of narrow it down. Who's going to be able to fulfill this role the best?
Right.
And that's what he does pretty well in his stories too. And the scripts here, the second one especially, he gets in and describes the characters.
What do
Now,
you think about what he says here about May 21st, 2014? So remember we had talked about he says his friend Zach Carter has a couple people that they're meeting. So it sounds like May even before this picture is taken, even before Wednesday, May 21st, 6:08
right,
p.m. in the morning, they had some other meetings. And he's saying this morning's meetings kind of soured it out, kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, along with the general nasty expenses associated with coming here. How not to be worried? Guess I'll look it up. But it's going to be hard getting someone excited about GS, about Gray State, when I'm running from it as fast as I can. So he had some meetings that morning that put a sour taste in his mouth. He doesn't really expand on that or anything, but even some of the words that he uses when he's just talking about expenses, he used the word like
right.
nasty and things like that.
Well, because they're
So,
meeting at like these probably just higher end restaurants and all that. It's most likely, and they're because they probably cover their own. I mean, granted, a lot of these studios, though, usually when they invite somebody out to go talk, it usually ends up being something they cover the expenses of that. Because this is a prospect for them. So
yeah, I've always wondered what the sour taste is. If it's like, are they telling him, hey, we're gonna basically change this whole thing? But it also sounds like he's not too excited about this, and he says he's running from it as fast as he can. That could be his sense of humor too, again. But again, I think this is more proof that is showing that David is not just putting all of his eggs into this Gray State basket, right? He's using this to get his foot into the door, into Hollywood's door.
The thing I want to take from this, I'm sure Sophia could add to this as well. When it comes to the Gray State story, I don't think David was really fully interested in it. He wanted to get the info out, but it's a really dark topic. You start talking about this police state, you start talking about, the Illuminati and all this. You start talking about these controversial topics, and you go down this rabbit hole, and all of a sudden, well, rabbit holes rather, and you go to really dark places. I mean, I do too. I mean, I have to take a break from looking at this stuff often. Especially lately.
It's very toxic. It's a toxic case. It's almost like cursed. At some point I started to think, man, even this whole case.
Well, it's not just this case. It's when you look at the topics that he had to research for his movie. And this is where it comes to the search history later on. In the timeline, you get to see that he does the search history, and it's really dark looking. But you go and you got to take it with you got to look from the lens of this is research. Is that's really what it is? Then you got to look at the script. These are areas he was probably rewriting to make them a lot more gruesome, a lot more terrifying. And I think that's what he was trying to aim for, because in the script it's pretty bad, but I'm pretty sure he was rewriting some of these scenes just to be a lot more grotesque, just to really get the message across. Is he's trying to get a message out, but at the same time it's art. A lot of people, they bring up, well, why don't you get Oliver Stone on this movie? Oliver Stone would have probably done the same thing. It would probably have been very, very dark and grotesque in a lot of these areas here, because it needs to be. It's not even like, oh, it should be. No, it needs to be grotesque. It needs to really hit home that way, because, well, this is a really dark movie. This is a very, very dark movie that he's putting together.
Well, David posted in that in September of 2014 that Sean Stone wanted a part in the Gray State script. So I wonder if Sean Stone actually,
Who's Sean Stone?
That's his son.
Oh, Oliver Stone's son?
Yeah, Oliver Stone's
kidding.
son. Yeah. So I've always wondered, because Jesse Ventura's son and Oliver Stone's son were both friends at that time, and of course Jesse Ventura from Minnesota. So
yeah.
there's that whole weird connection there. But I always wondered, what part did Sean Stone want in this script? Do you want a small part, a big part, a good guy, a bad guy? I don't really see him as an actor or anything like that.
He could have been behind the scenes, though. He very well could have been like a producer.
Well, the way David posted it sounded like he wanted a part in the script. The way that I interpret it is that he wanted, a part on camera, but maybe not. Maybe I misinterpreted that. But I always found that kind of fascinating.
Mhm.
That would have been that would have been interesting to see. You get people like that involved in it, and I think Sean Stone and Jesse Ventura's son at the time had a show, so they were both doing some type of a talk show or something like that too, or a podcast, something like that. So that would have been very interesting to see how all of that played out, and including Jesse Ventura, because he's from that same state there, who was a former soldier too. So I mean, there's a lot of connections there. Just a lot of weird things that were happening during that time. It's a very interesting timeline, I guess,
Right.
of what is happening. Um, so Thursday, May 22nd, they're out drinking. Our anniversary. Remember, you had a great day. Shots and tattoos with your best friend. So they must have got a new tattoo on May 22nd. Tattoos, multiple tattoos. Saturday, May 24th. This is one of the first photos that I saw that popped up in some of the early news reports. And I was like, where did they get this photo? So I'm still curious how this photo made it into the news. Now, it could just be, maybe he posted this to one of his Facebook accounts or his Instagram accounts or something like that. We know there's been some weird things that have happened. Well, there's a lot of stuff that was taken down.
Right.
I mean, it's mostly gone now. So I don't know. I don't know if it was there and then, it got taken down or whatever. But this was one of those photos. Like, where are they getting all of these photos here? And they were able to get them pretty quickly. So did the media get the photos, and then people who had access to David's Facebook and stuff like that start taking it down? I'm not really sure. I think Sophia's back with us.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, okay. You got dropped, huh?
Yeah, I did. I let the dog out of the cage, and he was excited to see me.
Awesome. Nothing wrong with that. We're making our way to May 24th here, at least. 2:09 a.m. He posted this. Obviously, the photo wasn't taken at that time, but he says this is probably one of the most important days of your life. So it's important to remember it. Met with Mike Bozio and Mike O'Donnell. That's his last name, O'Donnell.
Mm-hmm.
At the Grove in LA, not Bohemian Grove, just at the Grove in LA. Spectacular meeting, and we are all moving forward with GS. So there it is, right there, May 24th. Right. They're pretty much they're going for it here. You need to remember this because you told yourself that the outcome of this meeting would be a mechanical switch. Good meeting means it's time to reevaluate your relation to your skills and adopt a more becoming attitude and ego. Well, it happened. It's a dream, man, and you made it. By all accounts, 2 weeks, an option agreement. You effing made it. You are the professional you set out to be. You did a good job talking to these guys. They liked you. It's the start of something. You need to know this because by tomorrow, it's all going to seem like hangover memories. Realize what has happened. Remember, he's writing this 2 a.m. in the morning. May have some insomnia issues, or maybe he's just so happy about all this. I can totally see that too. Hard to sleep with everything that's happening. Remember this because the kind of thing does not happen every day. 10 you celebrated at Universal for 8 hours. Okay, so this is the same day where probably that photo was taken where they were at Universal Studios, standing outside of there. Fun fact, Maiko is a practicing Buddhist trying to land a deal with Jimmy Page for a story about some missing money from a tour in the 70s. Jamie, I'd love to hear Jamie's thoughts on that. I'm sure he probably knows that whole story. I think I was talking with Crip Rick. I was talking with somebody, and they knew like this whole story about Jimmy Page. And they kind of broke it down for me. I'm sorry, I forget whoever told me about that, but it was a pretty interesting story. Mike B manages Golden State, eats paleo, and has a 14-year-old son in Detroit. So interesting. That's good stuff.
Yeah, so we got some details about the mics as well.
Yeah.
So obviously what I took from this is they were relating to him. He felt like they were like just like every other guy like him, they were just regular guys. They weren't these like holier than thou big execs. No, they got a startup, but they're just like him. They're just like everybody else. And I think that's what he was kind of taken back from when it came to MGM and the prior journal entry, is that MGM and all them were probably very, very they probably turned him down, probably made him, feel like crap. Probably they probably looked at it like, no, this is not a project that will ever make any money. But the Mikes are like, well, they're a startup, and they're like, well, this looks amazing. Let's get involved with this. Let's get going. And I think that's why he keeps congratulating himself like 3-4 times throughout this entire journal entry right here. So, plus on top of that 2 weeks in an option agreement. Yeah, 2 weeks from there, then we got June, which comes down to Adam Gleason. So it's direct connection to that.
Yep. Let's see. Let's go back here. What you have there? Okay, so we made it through there. And then by May 24th is when they head back. They flew from Los Angeles to Texas. Okay. And they stayed there.
Right.
For a couple days. And then left on the May 26th. They drive back. This is the interesting thing that you have here.
I think.
The timeline says that they drove back to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Anjum's Acura. I always found that pretty interesting too.
Right.
So they drive out there in one car and drive back.
That's definitely a typo in there because the 26th between 27th and 28th. Yeah, it's the 27th.
That's the 27th. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot to go in. Yeah, this is one that looks like you're using. It might be a little older. Does this have the search history in that one?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's one of my newer ones, but I've got ones now that have got phone numbers in it as well.
Oh, okay.
Or the phone calls and all this.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe you can shoot me that one over so I can update it from on my website.
I got you.
Cool. So they drive back. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else there. Yeah, because looks like by the 27th they're home.
Right.
Okay. Got Paleo back, warming up to him. It's good to be home. Lots of work to do. All right.
Yeah, so it's very likely they probably went and just did 20, probably like mid 25th or so. They probably just left probably right after they got there, hung out a little bit, and then left, and then to the 27th when they actually made it back. But it looks like it was like late at night.
Yeah.
So early 27th is when they got home. So.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I just noticed May 25th, 27th, and then 26th. They're out of order.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And then a lot of journal. Look at all these journal entries here.
He's excited.
Anything that stood out to you from any of those journal entries before we get to June 13th?
Let's see, on the 28th. He's got some interesting ones. I will say that everyone you meet is a fellow traveler, and those on Tuesday, May 27th at 8:20 a.m. Yeah, he's got some ones in here that are a little interesting, but do they really go towards the timeline? That's something that's going to be crucial. I don't know. It doesn't really necessarily look that way, but he's got some ones in here that are rather interesting. I didn't think there was anything there that really stuck out.
Yeah.
But like I said, I very well need to go back over these and actually take a look to make sure there wasn't anything else. Maybe I'm seeing it now and I didn't then. So.
Yeah, that happens a lot with this case, I'm sure.
It does. But he has things, they're obviously doing CrossFit on the 28th. We're getting ready to do that. He's really trying to better his life. And you see this, it's like a change. He's now journaling more. He is, he's exercising what appears to be more. He's focusing on doing better
TRX.
by himself. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. TRX killed me. That stuff works though.
It does.
But when I first started, I was like, what is this? But yeah.
But he's doing all these things to better his life and his family's life.
Right.
which is exactly what he talked about, what he wanted to do in the journal. So once again, comes back to what you were talking about earlier, future planning. That's all he's doing here.
Yeah.
And we're still seeing this here.
Yep. And that's pretty much a lot of what he's doing, I think, at this point here. May 28th. There's a good photo of his feet.
Right.
If anybody wants that. I don't know. I can't tell what the... Oh, that's the CrossFit. Or no, that's the TRX. Yeah, TRX is really awesome. If anyone hasn't tried TRX, definitely worth trying.
Yeah.
As long as you can bolt it in. Ours was bolted into the ceiling. So that made it pretty easy. But yeah, I see what you're saying. A lot of this is just a lot of personal stuff. Not too much really relevant.
Right.
May
It doesn't show
29.
anything for motive. It doesn't show anything for means, and it doesn't show anything for opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's just
we got to have that to be able to go and actually say, okay, well, this guy did it, or to say anything like that. I mean, we can definitely narrow down motive on this. There's a lot of people in this case that have motive. Means is another one, and of course, opportunity. Who has the opportunity? It has to be somebody who's close to the family because they were comfortable. So if they're
well, here's something he writes here on Saturday, May 31st. Spent the day at the range with Eric Packizer, which is interesting. Because that's the guy that trained, or that he and his wife, they got their I think they're concealed carry, right? The concealed carry. But he's also heavily featured in the rough cut of Gray State, the Rise. And
they're probably friends.
Yeah. Met a new noteworthy man. Was clearly at first sight emanating with the power of social poise and influence, and I saw him work the charm on me, the same skills I'm learning about. Blah, blah, blah. His name is Blair Shepard. Looks half Syrian. Tall, thin, intense. Shoots a 300 blackout shorty AR and what looks like an old Glock 17. Jammed all the time, but his poise and performance never faltered. Some interesting stuff there.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, he's got some stuff in here that are rather interesting, but
yeah, just interesting. Maybe not, timeline worthy, I guess.
But he does mention Blair again, though, which is something I just noticed now.
Yeah, I didn't really notice. I missed Blair. I didn't notice, but that's interesting. Blair Shepard. Interesting. Isn't there? What is it? Neighbors or shepherds? Positive. So yeah. Also, Blair works web design and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not many details I retain. Okay. Storyline. Learn more storyline ideas. So interesting. All right.
Yeah, he's got some stuff that are rather interesting on that journal entries, on those ones at least. But
okay, but nothing too major. So then we'll skip down. Okay.
June is where things start getting more interesting because now we're starting to see the details from the home. We're actually getting to see placement of things, and we can tell right here they don't have that big the big couch they did that's in a crime scene. So we actually get to start seeing things around. That's why it was so crucial when I was going in that conversation with Jarvis when she was going, basically telling me that I was wrong about the foot and all this and yada yada yada. But this is where I started exploring the house, where all this is, where all the floorboards are, where his foot matches. We're able to actually go and pinpoint every little detail through the journal of all things, because there's so much. They give so many details through the journal in photos, and because we can go and see, well, you can see all these changes that are occurring throughout the home, different furniture and all this. Then you go and combine that with the phone records. Now you know where he's directly got his the couch from, when they called to deliver it, and then you can see in the journal entry when it's officially there. So then you go and piece that together with the phone records, and now voila, you now have the date it actually arrived and was put together and set up in the home. So there's a lot of details we can get from that alone, which is nice to have, because then did they have these couches there the whole time? No, they had them at this point on. So then you get to go and see where everything was at and how everything was set up. So you can actually get dimensions from this directly, which is the big part I really want to drive home with people, because this case, it's the same things that ends up being the undoing of the narrative. Math and science, all facts that literally shoot everything down. You know, you get dimensions. Okay, well, let's take a look at, well, how much of this space is actually going to muffle the noise of a gunshot? Next to zero. Why? Because that window's right there. It's not going to muffle it enough. If anything, it's going to be more centered going out through the window, hitting that window right there. So if there's any, and plus an open back door potentially being part of it, how couldn't anybody have heard it? Which makes the question of, okay, couldn't they have just gone to the basement? You know, plus we have the old catheter tube down there and all this, and does, from what I could see, I'm just throwing this out there now, just but it almost looks like there was some bleach in that tub, like it was being cleaned with bleach. So isn't it possible maybe they were killed downstairs? And even then, they could have been covered, and they could have just been right into the bathtub or something like this, and just everything done in there. And all they have to do is just clean up the tub. Just throwing it out there. It's a possible scenario. I know I get all over with this timeline, is it goes everywhere. That's the problem with it. But at the same time, it's also the gift of it.
See, so Sophia, any thoughts on the timeline or anything that kind of stuck out to you? We're kind of working our way here around June 14th.
To me, it just looks like he's still planning for the future, and I don't see any spiral. So
no spiral into
in the madness or anything like that. I just see him excited about the future. Sorry.
It's all good. No, I fully agree on that too. That's all he's doing throughout this entire journal up until a certain point. But even then you start seeing journal entries that look like they disappear and all this. But yeah, it's all it looks like he's doing is just future planning.
Okay. All right. So we'll go, let's see, June 13th. So June 13th, you have here Kamel filed paperwork to cash in her 401k retirement plan, which wasn't that much, right?
No, not really. And if you follow the financials, you can see when it hits and all this, and see how much she's getting per check. So
like a couple $1,000s or something.
Something like that. Yeah, it wasn't very much.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of this is just more journal entries here. Let's see, June 23rd. David completed his home theater project in the residence. Posted on Facebook the upcoming weekend would be round 2 of option contract negotiations on the movie. Yeah, June 25th. There's a big one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Schambauer, DAM, Joseph Seaton, and Sean. Wow, all in the same entry, huh?
Yep. Entries, yeah.
Entries, yeah.
You know, he's trying to go and get rid of some people here. I mean, you see it right there on Wednesday, June 25th, 2014 at 12:55 a.m. Sometimes it's hard to understand the things I know. I know what I said. Danny and Joe are sucking me dry. There ain't never enough I can throw at these people that they won't demand more. Like every one in the whole state is a fat charity case I have to sustain forever, because they all see my promise, energy, direction, and drive, and they need it. This is the essence of objectivism. Ayn Rand. I have economy of supply. They have demand. Analyze relationships, and most stay away. The few who make contact hover. But he goes on to go and talk about how all these people are toxic. They just are using him. They see that he is their key to getting in Hollywood, to Candyland, as David would call it. So that's
what is this? What is this Ayn Rand thing? This is the essence.
Have you ever read
no
Ayn Rand series? Oh, okay.
No.
So I would suggest reading the books, not watching the movies. Atlas Shrugged and all that. That's what he's talking about. A lot of what I've noticed is a lot of this is actually a big one in the truth community. For some reason, they like to show this as like the dystopian future that we're probably going to be heading toward, combined with a bit of 1984 and Brave New World. So I mean, we can see it's definitely more 1984. We have that Ministry of Truth now, right? But no, it talks a lot about capitalism and crony capitalism, to be specific. So it's talking about how he has the economy of supply. So he's got all of this stuff to supply. He's talking about his promise, his energy, his direction, his drive. So that's his economy of supply, and they're just demanding more and more and more and more. They're these just as he's calling them, even fat charity cases. They're not offering him anything in return. They're just taking. It's not a give and take. It's just he's giving, they're taking. He's expecting some give, from, but he wants something back from them, but they're not providing anything. So he's basically essentially saying they're useless. They are not doing anything for me. I need to really start analyzing these relationships here. They're not really worthy of my time or my energy or anything else. And it even goes on. He carries over to this next one as well. He says, but they're not talking about hiring. No, it's some kind of implied inclusion into my energy they want. See, they don't want to even do anything. They're just lazy. Adam jumping up and down, waving his big monkey arms, yelling, "You're my meal ticket." Sean says, $50K a year, I can have him to work and build sets.
That's my favorite line.
Right. Oh, the big monkey arms?
No, the 50K.
Right? Yeah, 50K just to build to work and build sets. What
no,
does Sean
50K,
have?
50K per year.
Right. I mean, what kind of? I mean, that's pretty low, anyways. It's like, I'll be the cheap guy. Come on, just give me a job, please, guys. It's like, oh, you sir are acting a little pathetic here.
It's interesting how he phrased it. 50K a year, and I can have him.
Yeah,
because that's what David has been looking for. It's
right.
Weird. It's weird.
It is, and the thing is like he's just really talking about how it's like they're pathetic. Essentially, is how he's looking at them. They're just pathetic, and they're like trying to push that he is the one who's going to take them. He's going to be pulling them along. He's going to do all the work. Well, of course, with Sean, also helping him with his work and building sets and everything. Sean doesn't really have a skill set to really show that he's that great. Now, don't get me wrong. I have seen some of his newer work. Doesn't do half bad. I will say that. But you got to look at, did he essentially get these gigs because of David? That's my question here. I don't know. But it seems to be all these people that were part of this Gray State project, after David's death, all of a sudden they bloomed. So it was almost like he was the fertilizer, and these seeds that wouldn't have bloomed anywhere else, they flourished.
No, they seem like weeds to me. Weeds
they
pop
definitely
up
are.
and grow, but yeah,
Well, they are.
Then they eventually fade out.
Well, the thing is, you'd think so, but then you've got the history they have now with what's going on. So it's all speculation at this point, as far as I'm concerned. But we've had some shout outs. We've had Luke Rudkowski calling out, basically like praising Sean on Timcast. Then you've got Mason Hendricks, and he's just somehow has all the the details about where these where the riots were taking place, and he was able to be there. Then you've got Danny August Mason. Now he's got all these little deal gigs, little minor gigs, but through, it looks to be Texas's media productions that are starting to pick him up. But it's smaller things. It's like video games and little internet movies and things like this. So he's not making a ton of money, but he's making some money. Joseph Seaton, we don't really hear about at all, but we knew he wants to be in that part, but he doesn't want to work for it. He just wants to kind of be there and be like, I look important, guys. Look at me. I've got some ideas. That's how it really comes off. So, and you could see this directly with how he's being talked about in the journal. as you look, he fades out pretty quick. David's like, wait, you were just trying to sell me something. I don't need you. What are you offering me? Oh, you want to go into a CrossFit program based on Gray State? Yeah, I'm good. And just pass him up. And Danny August Mason is the one who got suckered in and he was really pushing for Joe flourishing, and really his ideas being these big, great, grand ideas, but really they weren't. Danny August Mason kind of pushed him off to the side, it appears, after that. So it took him a while, but it does appear that is exactly what happened. Yeah. And you got all these guys, like I said, it's just like look at Dan Jr. now. I mean, there's some things about him that I'm rather curious about. Why was he so eager to really, just clean his hands of the case and just get it going? And all of a sudden now he's in charge of the, his mother's money as well, or her will or whatever. And just quickly, let's sell it all. Let's get rid of it. Just rather peculiar. So these are people, like I said, we need to really analyze. Then we've also got Chris Peck, of course, which just blatantly lied to the police. So gotta love that. So
we had a good question. Stace on the case. Thanks for joining us here. I know you've been looking into this for a while now too, I believe. She asked, is it weird that people would drop off gifts and not look through the big window with the curtain pulled back?
Simply put, it is incredibly odd. We also don't know what happened though with the relationship, little problem that David had with Dan Jr. We don't know what it is. If we knew what it was, then we could kind of gauge it. But even then, is he acting too childish? I mean, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. Getting closer, I think, though.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. Let's see. Derek says, yeah, $50K at wall building is cheap as hell. Construction is my friend. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I've been looking at that for a while. That is really, really cheap.
$50K per year
for building sets and things like that. Oh yeah, you're doing it. It's like, just give me a job, guys, please. I just need something, please. I want to be a part of this. This is my foot in the door, please. I'll take that as my foot in the door. That's what it sounds like he's pleading about that.
Yeah, it's like having him on retainer, right? He can still do other jobs, still work on other things. It's not like if you're building sets or building whatever, you're not going to be doing that every day, 5 days every week. So it's just a nice, easy, quick way to make $50,000.
Well, and I kind of think that's true, but it's not true at the same time. I think it wouldn't be necessarily kind of just like, oh, we're going to retain you. No, he'd be building for a while. Unless he had like a pretty good sized team, he would have been building those sets for a while. Just look at the scripts. Now we have to look at, there's 2 scripts here we can take from. If you were to look at all the sets that would have been needed.
Yeah, but that's where the production company and everything, that's where they come in. So he would have to be part of some type of a union in order to even get any type of a construct. I mean, David couldn't do anything. David could help him get into a union or something like that, but there's not really too much he could do. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, exactly. And that's the part I was going to come to next. I was hoping somebody was going to bring that up, which is fantastic. He wouldn't have not, but he would not have been a part of that. $50,000, they would have basically said, "Nah, we're good."
No, they have union. There's rules. There's so many different things.
They would have had to go through that union, and I mean, you can even see. I mean, David's going through this union for all sorts of different kinds of work. He's trying to go and source out set producers. I mean, you can see through the phone directory that I put together. You can see that in there that he's networking heavily with all these different unions, electrical work. He's looking for people for set, what's it called? I know Adam Shambor does it now. I don't remember what it's called, but they've got these like weird terms for like different kinds of people they have on set. It's kind of like, look at when you have all these road workers, how many people do you have out there working on this? Well, they're going to have a ton of these guys. They're going to bring them in. And when something needs to be done, they do it. And then you got your set designers and all this. I mean, this is all construction. They're going to go hire directly from these unions to go and do that. It's going to be an exclusive thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's exclusive contracts, unless, of course, they're going overseas, which the unions, from what I understood, they don't take part in that.
Yeah, they wouldn't. It's just a weird request or a weird thing to say. I don't know. That was just odd.
Right.
The other thing about dropping off the gifts, what states on the case, what she mentioned, dropping off those gifts, is that Dan Jr. saw the dog at the window too. So you see the dog at the window. You're dropping off gifts. You're dropping off a $14,000 check, mail, all of this stuff. You see the dogs. You kind of know that they're home. Why not? Why not stop by the door? I mean, did David's brother try to call?
Nope.
Nobody picked up or anything, so he's
Nope.
not calling on the 26th, the 27th, or the 28th, December 26th, December 27th, December 28th. He's not calling to say, "Hey, I'm going to come by and I'm going to drop these things off."
I can show that right now on my screen so everybody can see that.
See, and that's what irks me about this case is you're dropping off Christmas gifts, you're dropping off mail, a receipt, and a check. But
Right.
there's no calls, and he doesn't bother to knock on the door. He doesn't bother to reach out and say, "Hey, I left all this stuff on your doorstep. Why don't you go get it?"
Right.
I can tell you this, in Corpus, that stuff would be gone in a heartbeat
Right.
off the front of the porch. That's just, it's crazy just to think that you're going to leave all these items out there to be taken. If that's, who knows what it was like 7 years ago there in that town, but I still wouldn't trust it.
Right.
I mean, it's Christmas. You're leaving gifts, you're leaving a check. And
well, take note of one thing real quick is look at the setting there. We had snow and white backdrops, all this, and then you have these black wrapped presents with little Santas on it. That's gonna stick out like a damn sore thumb.
Well, look at it right there. That photo that was off in the distance. I mean, you can definitely see it.
Right. So who wouldn't come up and take that opportunity? You can quickly see, is there any camera that could be easily identified outside the home? No. So wouldn't
these aren't
Irish just come and take it?
The other thing is these aren't how the presents were found, though. They were scattered. So how did they get scattered? Obviously, when Danny Jr. dropped them off, he's probably stacked them up. What we're looking at here now in these photos are Colin Prochnow, the neighbor, stacking those presents up. So how did they get from where Danny, dropped them, and then get scattered? Did when Dan Jr., when David's brother saw the dog in the window, did he freak out and just throw the presents on the front door step or something? How did those presents get scattered?
He drove by and threw them out the window.
I mean, it's just odd. The whole thing is really strange. So I don't know. I've always wondered that. This all really started with the fact that he couldn't even get the actual date right. So I mean, you know what day that you drop these off. He told the cops that December 28th, but in early news reports he said either December 26th or December 27th, that he wasn't sure. So I mean, that doesn't line up with what you told the cops. So
well, that just tells you right there he didn't care.
I mean, what's the big deal about getting the date right? I don't understand why you wouldn't want to get the date right, especially for the news media, right? You would want them to know, hey, this is what day we did this. So I don't know, just weird things like that.
If he didn't care about David and the items that were going for David, at least care about your niece and making sure that she gets her Christmas gifts from your side of the family.
Right.
So I don't know. This irks me.
Yeah, I totally get why you would want to drop them off instead of actually mailing them, obviously. So I get that. They're not that far from it. So it makes sense to me to do that. It just seems like there's just a lot missing, a lot
I
missing.
mean, what's the harm in just leaving a text or a phone call, or even just knocking on the door and just quickly be like, "Here, this is for you guys from the family," and then be like,
That's a
"I'm out
great
of here."
point.
Why didn't you just do that?
I
Yeah,
would
no,
love
that's a
to
great
be
point.
a fly on the wall when Dan Sr. found out that Dan Jr. just left everything on the porch and didn't contact them. I mean,
Right?
with that amount of money sitting there,
So
I would clear him out.
there was no one that contacted them between whenever this family
Nope.
Christmas gathering was happening, where they all knew that, okay, we have presents for her. They already knew that David and Kamel and Rania were not going to show up for this gathering, I guess.
Mhm.
So why didn't they just mail them? That's a whole nother issue there. But I totally get it. Like, well, maybe they will show up. Maybe they'll happen to show up like they did last year. So, but at that point, nobody, they don't show up. You just say, well, we got these gifts here. Sometimes you let them sit under your Christmas tree for a week or two, but if you want to make sure that they get them, I totally get that. We want to make sure that they get them soon, and maybe this was a way for them to kind of reach out and let David know that they still love him, and they hope that he will contact them and get back in touch with them at some point here. To me, it shows a very loving side of this family that we don't see too much in these documents or in anything that we have. But to me, the presents show a very positive sign for this family and some type of a healing of something with whatever was happening with this family. So at least there's that. I don't know. That's the way that I always saw it. People have clowned on the gifts, which I'm really not. That really bothers me because I thought these gifts were very good. The gifts that they gave to Rania are, not just toys or any meaningless toys or
Well, they were
anything like
thoughtful.
that. They're very thoughtful, educational gifts. That's the way that I took them.
Well, even look at even what they got for David. You could take those as pretty thoughtful. So they know he likes to shoot.
Right.
So they got him something that would have been a little more fun. He's shooting zombies. That's fun.
Yeah,
They're
which
trying to
is
give him a
stuff
little
that,
fun.
and those are things that David had previously, so they
Mhm.
knew exactly what David had. They knew what to kind of get him. I don't know. Yeah, and then the whole map, the whole world map, I thought was a really cool thing. That little brain game thing, I thought these were very thoughtful, very kind gifts, and I don't know what was going on with this family or why they were doing this, but yeah, it's like at least send them a text or let them know, hey, we're dropping these off, or did you get the gifts here? Did you get the check? And we don't
Right.
see any
Yeah.
of that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're missing a lot of good comments here in the chat room. Let's see. I can pull up some of these.
Well, the comment section are directly tied to the StreamYard, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool how they do that. And I've seen other people, they know how to take the comments and share them publicly. I haven't figured any of that out yet. See if I can. How do I do this? No, I don't know. All it's giving me the option to do is block people, which I don't want.
I can figure it out for you if you want after stream.
All right, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, if you can, because I've seen other people. Maybe it's with the paid version, but you can it'll automatically show some of the comments that people are posting here, which are some really great comments. You just kind of go through some of these. Derek says no one drops a $14,000 check and just leaves on the steps. Whoever has left money and no interaction. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Stay says, I mean, if I went to my sister's, I would be all up on the window trying to see if she was there. Yeah. If that was my brother, I'd be pounding on the door. So I don't know. I mean, if it's obviously there wasn't a big enough issue to where the brother felt that he couldn't drop the presents off.
Right. And when it comes down to it, I mean, we don't know how bad it was. We know that it's even declared that it's, through the email exchange between Camille and Allison, that there was something that happened. It was pretty serious between David and Dan, but we don't know what.
Right.
And that's, I mean, I think we're getting closer and closer to finding that out, or at least getting some kind of an idea. But even then, yes, Stace brings up a good point, but what about the check? We don't even know how, if he even knew really what was in that
That's true.
envelope. So
That's
if he
true.
didn't know and just dropping something off and it was from his dad, it could be assumed money or a check, sure. And I'm sure he might have had the chance to even feel it up. But, we don't know if he knew.
Yeah. No, that's right.
And she also brings up another good point. Who would leave town and leave their dog by themselves?
Right. That's not going to happen. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never thought of that one. Because they had seen the dog, and yeah, the brother doesn't say too much about that, really, right?
Yeah, he's pretty hush hush.
Yeah, he just sees the dog through the window and peeks his head out, and that was it. So he would have probably assumed that the Crowleys were there inside of that house.
It's a fair assumption, for sure.
Ours would have lost his ever-loving mind if somebody had came close to where we live. If he could see them, he would be barking.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
but
and maybe,
Paleo probably is familiar with Dan, and
that's true. Yeah.
But even then, Cooper
He would
still
just be
barks at me when he sees me outside. So who knows?
right.
I like to think he's smart, but
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff there. Then we could go to January or June 28th. Got some stuff here. June 28th, 2014. David departed Minneapolis, Minnesota on a flight to Los Angeles. So he goes back and had a dinner in West Hollywood. David posted on Facebook that he would be meeting with the producers shortly. I think Camille was on this trip too, right? On the June 28th, because there are some. No, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't think she was. I think it was just the May trip.
Yeah, I see. I keep going back to the photos that they show where they're at LAX, but I think that's just because they're going from LAX back to Texas, and that so she's not there. So David takes this June 28th trip by himself, and then the September one by himself, most likely. Right.
That's my guess.
Now they're discussing options. So that contract that we have with the options, which pretty much has that. This is right around the time. Now it's like kind of crunch time. And so how does all of this go? Well, let me not jump the gun here, but that's June 28th, June 29th. There's a couple. June 26th, you got one there. June 29th. So there's some entries there. July 1st. Maybe I should be going through. Let's see. July 1st, David reviewed the option with his lawyer during that week. Okay. And is that from the journal, or is that just because something's from the emails?
Which day are we on again?
July 1st.
July 1st. Let me bring that up on the timeline. Let's see. Instagram post. David reviewed the movie option contract with his lawyer during the week. Presumably Adam Golason from Lumnan Abdo. I think I could have sworn that was in the journal. Let's take a look. Yeah, it doesn't appear to be in the journal. Good question. I will make sure I include something in on that for sure.
Yeah, if it's not in the journal, it's probably from their back
Instagram
and forth emails. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been the emails. It could have been Instagram posts as well. I doubt Instagram, but it's a lot of that stuff with the lawyer was all very private.
There's 29th. Yeah. Based on his post, yeah, it looks like it's just him on the 28th, 29th there.
Mm-hmm.
Mike thinks I could direct. He told me at one point that I was better than he was at producing. This is from the Iceman. Okay. June 30th. Anything there? I don't know. Maybe June 30th. Okay, so he's back then, right? So the 28th, he just flew out. He would have had to been back by June 30th if Kamel's given him a back rub, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Metaverse wasn't out then. Oh, man.
July. Okay, July 1st. The Crowley gene, the high capacity for accurate and abstract calculation, unhappily married to a subconscious tendency for unforgiving inward scrutiny.
Yeah, he's talking about he's his own worst critic, which I think
It's a
everybody
mouthful.
is. Yeah, I mean, everybody is just really their own worst critic, but I think he's trying to blame it on the Crowley as just being probably
The Crowley
from,
gene.
Yeah, just from seeing his dad and his brother probably, and then noticing things about himself.
Okay, let's see what else you got here. So that's July 1st. Maybe we'll go about a few more minutes. I think we went really overtime, didn't we here?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, well, let's wind this one down. We made it to page 6 at least. We're page 7, starting at page 7. So see if there's anything of note here. July 19th, the family found out about Nyla Alam's cancer. Okay, July 20th, the Alam and Crowley families are negatively mentioned. What does he say on the 20th? Something Kay and I talked about. We share a sharp disinterest in our families. Maybe a dull apathy is more accurate, but whatever it is, we both have it. I have thoughts on this, but maybe for another time. Another time. Yeah, maybe that's a great way to end this. Maybe we'll save that for another time to come back to this right here. So we made it to page 7, and any final thoughts here? I know we're really getting into it. We're getting closer to where a lot of things are happening. I think this is where we start hearing about a lot of the issues with their families. So if you guys have any final comments, and then I'll go ahead and shut this one down.
No, we've basically just nailed it right on the head throughout the whole thing.
All right. Sophia, any final comments?
Do you want to remind everybody about Wednesday?
Oh, yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
It's Wednesday.
Yes. So this Wednesday, we are going to, and I need to get, let me see if I can bring that up here.
Drum roll, please.
The Rise of the New World Order. We are going to be discussing, let me see, how do I share?
You guys need an infographic for it.
We need a lot of things here. Let's see, where's my tab? Okay, so this will be the channel, and I guess maybe one of you can help me put this in the, well, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not Facebook, on the YouTube, Will, or not, but
I'm on YouTube.
Okay, I don't know if you're in our chat room or not.
On the YouTube one,
Yeah.
I mean, I see it up
Probably
on the StreamYard.
Okay, as long as you see it there. All right, so this Wednesday, which is May 4th, at 7 p.m. California time, we are going to be on the show. It's going to be me. It's going to be Sophia and Catherine. We're going to be joined. We're going to interrupt the show for the Rise of the New World Order Lori Swan, Eric Wilkinson, Jeff Hayes, and we're going to be talking about my fan club. We're going to
Yes.
be addressing some of the things. If you haven't seen some of the recent shows that I put up some clips on my channel, but a lot of that was based on this channel here, talking about some of the strange things that I've heard about my fan club, including living in my mom's basement. And what are some of the other things, Sophia, that you've heard?
Your Nosferatu coming out of the basement.
I mean,
apparently.
it's just all this like weird stuff. I guess Lori. So basically, we're going to chat with Lori. We have a lot of questions for Lori and for Eric too. We don't want to leave Eric out, right? Even though they haven't made a video about Eric yet. But Lori tried to interact with some of these people from my fan club. It didn't go very, very well. She was very nice, very polite. It was not on this channel that she contacted them. This was about what, 7 months ago or something, Sophia? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a while ago.
October.
It was October, yeah. And I was doing a show with Eric and Lori and Jeff, and we were just kind of chatting about different things. And somehow this came up, and then they started showing me some of these videos or some of the names of these videos and some of these people who have this whole group. And it's like, it's not a group that's dedicated to proving David Crowley guilty. It's really a group that's just kind of dedicated to me. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's other people too, but it's just like, and so Lori kind of brought it up. Lori was trying to give them a chance to kind of tell their side of why David Crowley is guilty, which is something we've always been kind of trying to do with people who think David Crowley is guilty. Like, give us something here.
Right.
And so this is just one more time that somebody tried to give people a platform when they say, oh, you guys block us all. You do this and that. You don't let us talk. You don't let us in your chat room. There's a reason why. And so the more people that try to give them a chance, I know Jamie did too. Crip Rick tried to, and it's like, you did too. That's right, you did, William. I forgot about that. So you guys gotta remind me of this stuff. I can't keep up with all this stuff. This is how big my fan club is. I can't even keep up with them. But I mean, it just seemed like I was telling them about last week or two weeks ago. It really just seemed like it's just a couple people, couple trolls that are just kind of bringing up all of this stuff that has nothing to do with what would prove David Crowley guilty or anything. But some of the comments that they were making during the show that Lori talked about, and we'll get into that on Wednesday, but some of the comments that they were making, I felt like I had to basically correct them because they were getting Mama Gamer was getting a lot of things wrong. And I'm just like, where are you getting this data? But I think Lori will be able to articulate the whole story, how all of this happened, how we got here, how it got brought up, why they still haven't made a video about Eric, which I'm still waiting for. So until they do that, I'm really not going to address them too much. I want them to make a video about Eric first, and then I will consider having a conversation with them. But this Wednesday, we're going to dive deep into that. That is going to be on this channel, the rise of the New World Order. And we've dedicated hopefully the whole hour or 2 hours. I don't know. I mean, it really should take 30 seconds, a couple minutes to just really show, look, these people are just crazy. They have no idea what they're talking about. They obviously have no proof about David Crowley guilty. They can't get facts about me right. They can do all this research on me, but they can't even figure out some of these basic things.
Right.
Apparently, they like to go after people. They like to cyberbully people.
Yep.
These are things these are things that you would do, if you are a part of some weird, satanic, vicious group or something. This is not something that normal human beings would do, the way that these people act.
Right.
Why would they care? Like I was telling them, why would they care if I believe David Crowley did this? And then we get accused of all these different things. I'm just in this for my book and everything, for the free book that I give out to anyone who wants it, apparently. But
you're all about the money.
I'm all about the money somehow. Yeah. So it's all this weird stuff. So I think, I don't really want to do that on this channel, but I think the time is right, and We found the right channel. We found the right people. I really want to hear Lori's story. I want to
Yeah.
Oh,
hear.
she's got a whole story on like, oh, she deep dived on him.
Yeah, no, she actually interviewed Mama Gamer. I almost said Deep Space
No
Granny, but
kidding.
Mama, yeah. So she went like a whole hour with her, which I actually watched most of it. I would have to pause it and make comments, drop a
Is that
couple
on this
comments.
Rise of the New World Order channel?
It's not on this channel. It's on a different channel. If I have that link still, I'll try to forward you to that. I'll forward that link to you. I did download it offline too, but I
Oh, you could
I
just
don't
send
I don't
that to
know
me.
if
That'd
it's
be great.
public or not, but yeah, I can send you that link. You can check it out. She really tried. Lori really tried. I thought she was really nice to this person, and it was just very, very clear that this person just
Is
had
unhinged.
no idea what she was talking about. They were supposed to do a second one with Judy, a second show with Judy, and that never happened. So she's going to tell that story about why show number 2 got nixed and everything else. Sophia, any thoughts or anything you want to say about that? What's coming up?
Just that it'll be great to speak with Lori and get her side of the story. And I'd like to put this out there for the trolls is insulting us doesn't make David guilty. So have at it. Just
Right.
we'd like to see some real proof.
There it is. All right. So we'll come back on Wednesday. If you're not a subscriber to that channel, please do so. And until then, God
By
bless you
chance.
all.
Oh yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk. I've got some things already.
All right. Stay on the line. I'm going to drop this one off here. And yeah, we can talk a little bit privately. And but yeah, please come back on Wednesday night. It should be a fun show, as always, with these guys and gals, for sure. And if they don't make a video about Eric, I'm gonna have to make one. So
Makes
I would,
sense.
yeah, I would.
Make sure to, if you're gonna do any animation or anything like this, throw yourself as Nosferatu. Just do it, man. Right out of the basement.
You got it. All right, everyone. Thank you all, and God bless. Really appreciate everybody here, everyone in the comments. Yes, Derek, I believe that is 10 o'clock Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. All right, everyone. God bless you all. See you then.